Local people, important issues. CBS 10 WILM's weekly focus on the Lower Cape Fear region. This is Byline Wilmington with your host, Don Ansell.
Welcome and good morning. Well, with all the excitement and coverage of the NCAA tournament, we thought it might be interesting to talk about what happened to Seahawk basketball, Seahawk men's basketball. At the height of a disappointing season, Coach Benny Moss was relieved of his duties, and the squad ended up with a 9-for-31 season and finished 10th out of 12 in the CAA conference. Star News reporter Brian Mull has been following this story, and he joins us for some unvarnished comments about what happened and what's coming down the pike. Brian, thanks for coming in. Really great to meet you. I've been reading you. Now I see you in person. So is it accurate to lay the failures of the Seahawk men's basketball program at the feet of their now former coach of 4 years, Benny Moss?
Ultimately, the responsibility lies with the head coach. And as I wrote shortly after Moss was dismissed, he was very successful in two of the three areas that you would ask a basketball coach to be successful. His students, his players graduated. They maintained high grade point averages. They were respectable citizens in the community. However, those two were grossly outweighed by the struggles that,
Because his, auxiliarily, he wants his players to be good citizens and to do well academically. But his job is to facilitate a winning team, is it not?
Absolutely. At any Division I program, at any program anywhere in the country that cares about basketball or any particular sport, people want a winner. And especially in a situation here where there is a tradition of winning, the fans support the program when it's successful, support it even when it's not successful, but they expect they expect a certain level.
And is that where the buck stops? Excuse me. Or what about the director of athletics, Kelly Mertens?
Well, she has certainly been under scrutiny for extending his contract 2 years ago.
At a time when he wasn't...
He was coming off of a 20-win season and had a very young team coming back, and I think she chose to do that as a vote of confidence. The future looked fairly bright at that time. I was actually in favor of the move. It gives you a little bit more credibility in the recruiting world. And he had a nice core of players that it looked like he could develop that could continue to be successful, but a couple of those guys either transferred or did not pan out, and then that nucleus was shaken a little bit and had two really the two worst seasons in school history, following that up, and really left Mertens no choice.
So I know there's no definitive line, but how much of it was it coaching and how much was it a talent issue? Or of course it's both, but he picks the talent, but...
Exactly. I kind of liken a Division I basketball coach kind of gets to wear the head coach and the general manager hat, because he gets to pick the players that he wants exclusively, and he gets to coach them. And there has to be, recruiting is extremely important, and in the mid-major level, developing that talent within your system is equally important. You're not going to be able to go out at a UNC Wilmington or at a CAA level school and recruit the blue chip elite 4- and 5-star athletes. You have to uncover some diamonds in the rough and develop those people along.
So being able to spot the talent and then being able to develop the talent and polish their techniques is his job.
Absolutely, and then there's there has to be a level of discipline and respect, and within the program and structure, natural leadership evolving from the upperclassmen. I think any coach will tell you a successful team kind of gets to the point where it runs itself, and the coach can just kind of oversee it.
But some would say that his first 2 years that were, as you said, somewhat successful, were really piggybacking on the success of his predecessors, and that when when it really came down to it, his last 2 years, which was really he owned,
Right.
was not successful.
That's absolutely correct. They struggled the first season. The second season he was here, they bounced back, finished tied for second in the CAA, won 20 games, and but the core of that team was 4 seniors who had all been recruited by Brad Brownell. And once those guys left, there was a freshman class came in that next year that looked like perhaps could replace those guys, but again, just never really worked out.
And then
that way.
in the next season, it showed that development never happened.
Correct. Yeah.
In hindsight, was Moss a poor choice? Hindsight's easy, especially for us.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think his record, speaks for itself. 41-74, I believe. The program lost more home games in the last 4 seasons than it did in the previous 13, if I'm not mistaken. And I think as much as anything, folks got used to being able to go to Trask Coliseum, plunk down their $15, $20, buy their season ticket package, whatever the case may be, and go home at 9:15 having seen a victory.
A heck of a ride, too.
And obviously, the postseason success. There are a lot of good assistant coaches, as Moss was at Charlotte, who just never can make a successful transition.
So you think that his hire was, because it was a little controversial when they hired him. There was speculation: can he really step up to the plate and do what his predecessors have kind of successfully done?
He walked into a difficult situation. I mean, let's be realistic. The program was coming off its best season, 25 wins, NCAA tournament appearance, conference championship. The core of that team graduated, so he was inheriting a team that was missing a lot of those key pieces. Had a couple of injuries. T.J. Carter, who had kind of been the star of that team, ended up sitting out the entire first season. And expectations were through the roof.
Right. The last thing you want when you start is high. You want low expectations. You want to always be able to beat them, sure.
Absolutely, and be able to kind of build it up on your own. And it just seems like there was always he was going to be compared to the previous coaches, and it's difficult for anyone.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk more with Brian Mull, who is a sports reporter for the Star, and who's been following this story about the Seahawk basketball. When we come back, we'll talk about the search for a new coach and what's it going to take to resurrect the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back.